Welcome. My name is Malcolm Ross, VP of Product. This is the Appian 16.3 Product Announcement webinar. In this webinar, we're going to be covering all the details of the latest release of the Appian product, as well as a few updates and a few insights of new interfaces coming in 2017. With that, I'd like to start by talking a little bit about first Appian around the world and the upcoming Appian world. If you had a chance to join us in Melbourne, Australia, Boston, New York City, London, Dallas, or San Francisco recently, we'd like to thank you for attending the Appian Around the World sessions. These are great regional events that allow us to, or all of our customers, to engage with each other, discuss the challenges and successes they've had in implementing the Appian product. If you'd still like to catch some of our Appian Around the World sessions, simply go to the Appian website and look for Appian Around the World. We have upcoming sessions next week in Washington, D.C., Chicago, Illinois, and New Jersey on November 2nd, followed by our last event in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. As many of you may know, every single year we've had Appian World in Washington, D.C. We're proud to announce that this year, or coming the next year rather, it's going to be in San Francisco, right in the Hyatt Regency off the Embarcadero in central San Francisco on April 3rd to 5th in 2017. Appian World is the biggest global user conference of Appian practitioners, partners, and customers, and also the most important event to learn about the latest upcomings of the Appian product and interact with fellow Appian practitioners in both your industry and technical expertise level. So invite you, please go to the Appian.com website, learn about Appian World. We're posting agendas and content very soon, and look forward to seeing you in San Francisco on April 3rd to 5th. Now, as you may know, Appian 16.3 was a little off with the regular release schedule. We'd hoped to release this in July, but intend to do a lot more intensive quality assurance on the Appian 16.3 product and releasing it at the end of September. 16.3, please note, will be the last release of 2016. So we will not have a 16.4 release in 2016. The next release of Appian will be in January of 2017, and thus be labeled the 17.1 version. The first number, 17, or 16 in this case, being the year of the release, and then the next number being the release that year. So the third version for 16.3 and 17.1 being the first release of 2017. But what we're going to be talking about today is specifically the 16.3 release. Again, that was released on September 30th, 2016. You could download, view the documentation off Appian Forum. But today's webinar, we're going to cover in detail all the new features and changes to the end user experience, design time experience, and administration experience with the 16.3 release. At the end, though, we're also going to have a preview of the Modern UI initiative. We have some very important announcements coming up with the 2017 releases of Appian around changes to the user experience. These changes will fluidly modify all the existing Appian customers to a new modern UI experience, as well as slowly roll out new additional layouts and features throughout the 2017 roadmap. And we'll be covering those in details at the end of the session. But first, let's talk about 16.3 and specifically the end user experience. As you may know, Appian comes with three primary ways to utilize the Appian product for your end users. The first being Tempo. Tempo is a collaborative, knowledge worker-centered experience designed for rapid implementation with a set navigation structure for rich collaboration and discovery across a wide variety of records and process interactions. It's the fastest way to start employing and utilizing the Appian product. Appian Sites, though, is a feature we've been investing in a lot for the past 18 months. Appian Sites is more fit-for-purpose user experiences, allowing our designers to customize the top pane navigation, the overall branding experience, but still maintain the navigation to the core constructs of the Appian product, being records, process interactions, and report views. Embedded Sail allows you to employ custom record views that you build inside the Appian Sail architecture, as well as process task forms and snap those into custom-built websites using a single line of HTML. This allows you to employ the proper UI experience for the different type of use cases supported by the Appian product. What we're going to talk a little bit more about, though, is the application portal. Application portal, many of you have been using for a long time. It was originally released in about a little over 10 years ago, and we're announcing the end of life of the application portal in October of 2018. So to be clear, the application portal, our legacy UI environment for interacting with processes and reports, will be supported in 16.3 and will be supported throughout 2017 and also will be supported until October of 2018. So approximately 2 years from now, you should start planning the migration of your application portal experiences to the Appian sail-based user experiences, which are Tempo, Site, and Embedded Sail. Subsequently, we'll also be removing support in October of 2018 for related portal capabilities, such as communities. We encourage all of our customers to be utilizing knowledge centers directly for organizing content management in the Appian Document Management Store instead of the community structures. Other portal-centric features such as discussion forums and portal forms, as well as HTML, PDF, and JSP forms, will also be dropped from support in October of 2018. And other portal-centric design features such as process attachments and notes, and relevant smart services and relevant expressions. So again, there's a large time here to plan that migration, 2 years. If you have questions, please do engage with Appian support, Appian services, or your account executives for guidance on how to migrate your existing portal applications to the Tempo, Site, or Embedded Sail user experiences. Now, to jump into the first new update with the 16.3 announcement, we have a brand new sail component for release. This is really building off of the existing hierarchy browser for browsing any type of hierarchical data. As you may be aware, Appian already has a hierarchy browser component which allows for a column-based navigation. This allows for a tree-based format navigation, very similar to the org structure component already available inside the Appian product. But this allows you to browse, of course, any hierarchical data that you have inside your enterprise. Now, if we want to take a look at this is a quick snapshot on the right-hand side, but let's actually take a look at how we build the tree browser component. So I have a sample inside here in my 16.3 launch samples for the tree browser component. I also encourage you, if you'd like to look at this exact same sail interface example, simply go to the Appian forum documentation. This is the recipe for the tree browser component published under Appian forum docs. Now on the left-hand side, I have the design view. Now much of the configuration here, though, is the loading of that hierarchical data. So I'm going to take a look at that actually inside the expression view instead. Now inside the expression view, of course, the very first thing I want to do is load that hierarchical field data. I want to determine exactly the source and the root elements of these. So I have my local path, my local selection, and more importantly, my country data response, which is really finding out what are all the countries of the entire world here. Now you can see that this example is actually based off of a third-party web service. Here calling this restcountries.eu, rest v1 all, which is fetching all countries and their regions for the entire world. As I organize this content, I'm going to convert that to in my from JSON conversion function to a data structure that Appian can represent and navigate very easily across all the data structures. And then finally, I'm going to start declaring inside my first column my hierarchy browser field tree component, starting, of course, with the root that I want to have a label to explore your world, and then have that root value defined to be the earth value. Now, as you implement this, you're also going to be employing the hierarchy browser tree field tree node, which defines the individual nodes of the tree browser structure. You'll notice, of course, that inside of here, I have a bunch of functions that are going to be parsing specifically that content from the RESTful web service that was called inside of the code. And of course, down below as well, I have my definitions of the exact tree browser node field, as I want to show the individual capitals, population, information about those countries. To see the behavior on the right-hand side, let's go ahead and contract that. When I want to play with it inside my live view, like the org structure component, you have a count, counting the number of child elements for any specific element. I have a plus if I want to drill in to expand to beyond to the next element. So now I see the count 6 and 4 regions of the European region. If I want to see everything in Western Europe, simply select the Western Europe count. And I know I see 9 countries, fetching some of those key elements from that RESTful web service, the country name, the capital, and the population of each one of those countries. And of course, as I'm in these individual nodes at the very bottom of the hierarchy, you can also define the custom drill path. So if I want to click on, say, the country name, that's going to be a custom drill path to maybe a specific external web page. That could go to a record page, any type of link action I want to refer to here. I can enable as those leaf elements to basically drill into those custom paths. So this is a great way for organizing content. If you have like a branch structure in your organization, you have different types of hierarchical data, I can start to use this to employ a nice intuitive way for navigating hierarchical data structures off any data source you have inside your enterprise. So let's go back to our presentation. Next, with the user cards on Tempo user links, this allows you to basically have the user card action, which was previously available only inside the news stream, be anywhere inside the Tempo experience where I have a user link action. So for example, here I see a screenshot where I'm inside a record dashboard and I have the account owner represented here. The account owner, of course, is Lisa Walker, but if I hover over Lisa Walker's name and I want to see a preview of who that is, I'll get that same user card that was inside the news activity stream. The user card, of course, allows me to quickly follow Lisa here for getting all of her news inside my activity stream, as well as quick access to all of her contact information, such as her email address, which is currently set to my email address, or contact information throughout the entire, like her phone number and location. Again, to reemphasize, this only applies to the Tempo user experience because this is closely tied with the activity stream. This does not apply to the sites or the embedded sale use case if I have the user link action present. We also have introduced a better use of the task interface by optimizing the task actions. The task actions are represented here in that screenshot on the far left-hand side. This is representative of Appian 16.2 or earlier, where I see the save changes and reassign task action. Now, this of course creates a little bit of design, less optimized design. So inside the 16.3 release, we take full advantage of the full screen available to us in Tempo, and then move any of those custom taskbar actions to the top-hand menu bar. We've also tried to isolate, making sure that those task actions are relevant to the task operations, not to the interface of the task form itself. We highlight those inside that individual task toolbar on the top, with the return to all task assignees in the upper left, and of course the save, reassign, and reject options in the upper right now, which are going to be highlighted in that blue notation, that highlighted color. And of course down below then I actually have the task form. We've also optimized it or improved the save changes inside embedded sale. Prior to 16.3, if you're using embedded sale, there was no availability of saving changes on individual tasks, so they can return to those tasks at a later time. Now with 16.3, you do have the save changes action, which allows a user to save the content of a task form without completing it. As they hit that save button, they'll be able to come back to that task form in the embedded sale context to complete that task later. And finally, we've also added those same type of task toolbar capabilities to the sites experience. So now Appian Sites has a parity functionality between the Tempo environment with advanced task management capabilities, including returning the task to all assignees, saving, reassigning, or rejecting that task as well. Works exactly the same way as Tempo, where I have the top-hand toolbar showing me all the task advanced actions. Then down below, I see the task itself. Speaking of Appian Sites, we've also taken the time to apply the same type of optimization of real estate that we had in Tempo and 16.2 to the sites experience as well. So now if you employ the Appian Sites on 16.3, you'll notice that you have 25% more space to stretch out grid structures, pie charts, bar charts, as we see here, and take better advantage of the full real estate I have inside the Appian Sites UI. And then also, inside Appian Sites, users now have the ability to embed the user record and navigate to user profiles while maintaining inside the site's context. Prior to Appian 16.3, if you had any links to user profiles, you were not able to navigate to those inside the site's context, as well as you were not able to utilize the out-of-the-box user's record as a key navigational point in the top-hand navigation. Now with 16.3, you do have the user record option available to you, and if I click on any of those users, whether navigating it to from the record list or navigating it to, say, from a link action on a record dashboard, it's going to take me straight into that user record inside the site's context. Notice though that there's a few subtle differences, that on the left-hand navigation menu where I see the different types of views on top of that user record, I do not see the news view. So the news view, since news is not available in sites, is not present here. as well as I don't see the news-related actions, such as the follow action or the give kudos action, will not show up inside the user profile screen when displayed inside of a site. We also enabled reports inside sites. Reports inside sites allow you to generate or display any report, not just task reports, inside the site's context. So of course, the more innovative behavior here is that if I have any type of navigational link, whether it's to a different record object or maybe a user profile, even if it wasn't one of my top pane navigational items, it will always maintain the navigational view inside the site's context. So of course, what I also missing here though is the news stream posts. The only thing that will pop up into the Tempo experience, if I have any links to a news stream item, that will pop into Tempo and go out of the site's context. Let's actually take a look at some of the stuff in action. So let's go back to my demonstration screen. And now, of course, here I have the Tempo UI. If I go into my records environment, click on, say, my customers, I have a good example here where every single one of my customers has a specific account executive. Here I can see David Evans as the account executive. And of course, in the Tempo context, when I hover over that user, I can now see David Evans' contact card with all of his contact information and the follow/unfollow button. So it's a great way to get quick information about how do I contact this person if I'm interested in reaching out to them in the context of information I'm viewing. Another important context I want to talk about is the demo application I'm showing today. If you have questions, or if you'd like to see the demo application we're using today for the 16.3 release, this is a major update to the case management framework that's available in either the Appian App Market or the shared components. So from there, you can go to the Appian App Market, simply download the latest case management framework, and see all the demonstration I'm showing today inside that solution, as well as some of the more isolated demonstrations are also available as sale recipes inside the Appian Forum experience. Now, we also talked about the sites changes. So the first change you might notice is that it does take up that full screen real estate. So that 25% wider real estate utilized when looking at an individual site. Now, of course, as well, if I click into, say, individual customers, go off the service request, I can see all my service requests, and as well I can see information. You'll notice that as I hover over users inside of here, I do not see the contact cards popping up in the site's context, so that's only a Tempo feature. And of course, similarly, if I go into my customer view as well, in similar fashion, if I went to that exact same customer I saw before, the taxi service, I see David Evans. Hovering over David Evans does not show me the full contact card inside the site's experience. What you'll also notice of it as well is that I have this task report. Of course, task reports were available inside 16.2 and earlier, but I also have the trends report capability. So now I have basically a full reporting capability as one of my main navigational tabs inside the site's UI. More importantly as well, here I only have records to service requests and customers, but I have some navigational links to things like products here, showing me my most popular products by service requests. If I were to say click on an individual product here, it's going to allow me to click into that product detail, showing me all the information about this product, but of course, not making that one of my navigational links is not required. So all the navigational behavior, just like I had in Tempo, is still preserved by maintaining inside the site's context, just like before. As well, I still have all the related actions, all the things you had inside Tempo also apply inside the site's UI construct. Going on, let's talk about now the updates to the designer experience with Appian 16.3. The first and more important design time update is updates to the Quick Apps and Application Builder environment. Quick Apps, aside from just a broad set of smaller fixes and more comprehensive documentation, all the descriptions and names of all the design elements created by a Quick App or the App Builder, we also now look Quick Apps in the Application Builder to directly generate sites. So this simply means as I go through the Quick App Designer, on that last step called Access inside the Quick App Designer or the Application Builder, I have a single checkbox here where I can check and say, do I want to create a standalone site for this Quick App? As I choose that checkbox, I also have a prompt to define the exact icon I want to have as a navigational icon for the object I'm creating. In this example, I'm creating a product enhancer request Quick App. As I go through here, the final step then is saying, instead of all the links to the different navigation elements in Tempo, I have a single link that says, if you'd like to start working with this quick app, simply click here. As I click on that link, it's going to kick me directly now into the site experience that was created. So no more additional step of creating a site for that quick app you built. We automatically generate the site for you with the custom navigation. On the first navigational element, I have the record I just created, in this case called product enhancements. Then I can create new product enhancements inside of here is my new process start form. I can analyze trends of all my product enhancements throughout the system that have been created. And finally, of course, I have this new element called My Tasks. My Tasks is a custom task report built for just this quick app. If we take a look at that task report, what this is going to be generated, of course, is that custom task report view that's going to show tasks just for this quick app solution. So processes associated with that quick app. In this case, any of those ad hoc activities. You can not only view and complete all those tasks, but also see and send a new task request directly from the My Task view. By clicking on the Send New Task button, I'll get a navigational link to select which record for my product enhancements I want to associate it with, who do I want to assign it to, and of course, the description of the task request. So that custom task report not only applies to the site's experience, but you'll also see that custom task report for each quick app inside the Tempo task view as well. Going on from the design time experience, we also have been improving the data type change management features for the Appian product. If you remember, in 16.2, we released a fluid data type change management feature, which impacted data stores, expression rules, interfaces, and related data types. What this simply means is, if I go in and change a data structure, such as if I have a data type called address, and I want to add maybe a country field to the address data type, well, I have a lot of dependent data stores. I'm persisting it to a relational database. I may be using that address data type in expression rules, interfaces, and maybe other related data types, like a customer data type has a sub-reference of address. And if I make that change, I need to go ahead and make that impact that change across all these other design elements. 16.2 introduced fluid data type change management to all those data stores, expression rules, interfaces, and related data types. And 16.3 now finishes up the job with impacting process models. So now when you update a data type, there's no need to include data types inside or all the other change elements inside of a patch. There's also no need to go back and manually update the data type references in those other design elements. As well, no need to delete data types when you're migrating from a, say, staging to production environment. You don't need to go into production and delete the data type first. Simply import the new data type version. It would not only upgrade the data type, but also all the related data type elements which were using that data type. Now, talking a little bit about process modeler. As many of you are aware, we've been introducing an updated process modeler, which now supports Google Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and Microsoft Edge. That first came out in May of 2016 with the 16.2 release. Now, we've been hard at work on the process modeler, not only making sure it's ready for GA quality out of the preview edition, but as well adding new features. The first one of those features is being able to disable email notifications on a per task basis. So this simply means many of our customers have maybe had situations where end users have been spammed by tasks by frequent task assignments. So if you have any type of issue where if you want to prevent email spam because of frequent task assignments, simply go into the assignment action or the assignment tab on any one of those activities and uncheck the notify task assignees on new task via email checkbox. That will make sure that no email is sent when that task is assigned. Now that will be turned on by default. That's to preserve current behavior. So when you upgrade to 16.3, behavior will remain the same, but your designers will have the option to go back into the process models and uncheck those elements if they want to reduce the amount of email notifications to their users. In addition, we also added the ability to do a multi-move by control clicking on individual design elements in the Appian process modeler. Now this is a little bit hard to show in a static screenshot, so I'll demonstrate this in just a minute. But essentially, if you hold down the control button, or if you're using a Mac, hold down the command button while clicking multiple elements, it'll select all those elements at once, which will allow you to do then a bulk move. In addition, we also now allow for the process modeler to be fluidly resized inside any of those current modern browsers. So Windows resizing again simply allows me to adjust the size or even adjust the display screen size. If I want more real estate, maybe I'm going to change to a higher resolution. You'll automatically adjust the process modeler to accommodate that higher resolution as well. But let's take a look at some of these in action. So first, let's take a look at the process modeler. Go into my design view, and now to just show that resizing, I'm going to go ahead and drag and open this to a separate window. As you can see, if I want to go ahead and add a few elements here, let's say this makes sense, I'm going to go ahead and drag these 3 activities, close my font control here. Now, of course, as many of you know, if I wanted to move any of these before, I had to drag each one individually inside the screen. Now, I can simply, on a Mac, hold down Command, click multiple elements, and drag all these at once to the target location. So much more easier for users to do bulk operations across multiple activities and visually laying out those on the process model diagram. And of course, as well, if I need to resize the window, I can go ahead and fluidly resize the window to any size I want, either in a separate window or in a nested tab window inside the Appian web browser or the Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Edge, or IE web browsers. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Now, to increase some of the intuitive behavior as well, we've introduced things called smart pre-population. So when you're building an application, you of course have a lot of context already as I build new components for the application, such as if I'm inside the interface designer and I want to automatically create a process model by the save as function, well, I should already inherit the application context. I might know from previous behavior which folder I'm commonly saving my process model folders into. And of course, I should be able to auto-populate the report name and action name based on the interface I want to bind to it. So you'll see these smart pre-population features prevalent through a lot of the different save features or creation features inside the Appian product. Now, if we take a look at some of these, let's go ahead and escape out of here and close my process model. Let's go ahead and say build a new interface. This new interface is going to create, say, sample example. You can see it's already populated, of course, my save in folder because it recognized I'm saving all my other interfaces inside the same folder. Let's go ahead and just pre-populate that save in folder for my new interface as well. As I choose create edit, well, I need to make sure I don't have any spaces inside of there. Create and edit. And now I'm inside the interface designer. Of course, let's go ahead and quickly create one of my example forms so I have a rich form to start from. And now I'm building my form, imagine. I'm creating as what I want. And now let's go ahead and hit the Save As action. So the Save As action was introduced in 16.2, allows you to very quickly not only save that interface, but also save it as maybe a report for instant publication to the Reports UI, or as an application action. As I save as an application action inside of here, it's going to say, well, you want to create a process model from this. So here's the application action name. Since I had a header inside this form called new purchase request, it's assuming I probably want to create a process model of the same name. I recognize that since I'm inside the current application, let's go ahead and pre-populate the current application context. And I created process models before inside the same application. I had stored them in this process model folder called 16.3 process samples. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-populate that as well. So again, a rapid way for pre-populating all the save as actions to make sure people are organizing content in the right locations. As I hit save and edit, there is my save function, or it's going to save that interface and automatically create a process model for me that then not only allows me to start process modeling, but as well already has that process start form bound to it. So I don't need to go into the binding. I can go ahead and actually initiate this process form right away and actually see that process model publish or my interaction right away inside the system. And I have a lot of required values here, but I'll just go ahead and close that. So a great feature for basically making it a little bit more intuitive for designers to make sure they're organizing content properly. Another way we have implemented smart pre-population is in the areas of related actions with a record type. So related actions to a record type, of course, are where we bind the data structure of a record to the actual process actions. And that data binding requires often a mapping of the process data or the record data elements to the expected process parameters. Now, if I take a look at this, when I create a new related action inside the system, Let's go ahead to my 16.3 launch samples. I'm going to go ahead and just add an existing object here, which will be my customer record. Let's go ahead and modify my customer record inside of here. And down below then, I have then what we call our related actions. Our related actions are where I start to associate the bindings of my process actions to the actual the record data. So let's go ahead and say I want to create a new related action, and I want to allow my users to create new orders for customers. Now, as I choose my new order process, it's going to pre-populate my context binding function to say, well, here's all the process parameters expected from the new order process model. Here, it's going to pre-populate with a null value, but what I really want to have here is the customer ID, which is, of course, is the record property ID inside of here. Hit OK, and now I'm done. I've bound now that process action to my record data just like that. Going on, inside the expression editor, we've done some minor improvements here. Now when I'm dealing with large lists of content, we've added an ability to have the length of the list automatically returned when I'm testing the output of that function. So very easily, when I hit test output, I won't just get the list values, but also see the list count there. In this case, 100 items, because I'm doing a simple enumeration of the value of 100. We've also improved the column sorting for the queryEntity function. So queryEntity function allows you to query any data store registered with the Appian product, but prior to Appian 16.3, we had support for a single sort function. Now, inside the paging info function, which is where I load the data for the display inside a grid structure, for example, I then have also a property called sort. In 16.3, that can now take an array of multiple sort infos. So here you can see I have two A-bank sort infos inside of that sort parameter. Let's take actually a look at this in action. It's a little bit more impressive when I show it. And here I have my multi-sort interface. Now, since much of the configuration on the sort is actually inside the loading of the paging info, let's take a look at this inside the expression view. And here I have that defining that local variable for my grid selection. My grid selection then is going to load a paging info. And inside that paging info, as you can see, I have this array indicated by the brackets of two sort info functions. My first sort info is on the order date. My second is on the total value. So you can see if this applied here, I'm actually sorting by first order date and second by order total. Now to show this is working, if I were to take out, say, my order total, just go ahead and delete that. Whoops. Make sure I select the entire function here. And I'm going to hit the test button to reload my data set. And now I can see the total value is sorting as normal by the ascending values, or actually not really focusing on the total value sort as well, but maybe instead I want to make sure that whenever I see a specific order sorted by date, I want to make sure the highest value order is shown first inside that subsort. So again, if I reapply this, hit the test function, and now I can see that properly sorting on the secondary sort. I can have as many additional sorts as I want. They're going to be evaluated in order for which I lay these out inside the array. So I simply have the first primary one as the first sort info, and then any types of secondary ones, tertiary ones in order inside the array structure of my sort parameter. So going on, talking a little bit more about testing. To facilitate testing, we've released in 16.2 and earlier versions, we had 4 data types that we had for interacting with the Appian testing framework. One was application test result, one was test case result, one was test run result, and one was object test result. These are for getting all the result sets back from an automated unit test across the entire application or the entire Appian product. Now what we've done is, to make it easier to build automated testing frameworks, either in interfaces, expressions, or process models, you can now reference these data types directly as process variables inside the process model, or from expressions or interfaces. So here I can see an example where I've referenced these as declared types inside the interface designer. In addition, you can also reference these sub-elements. So if I see inside the interface designer, referencing the application test result parameter defined by type application test result, And then we've also added a parameter here which will return back with the result, which is a URL to the application that was tested. This is really just to facilitate intuitive design for a automated rule test. It will return back the URL for the application that was tested. So if I want to display that URL to a tester, I can then have a quick link back to that application inside the designer experience. Also inside Web APIs, the URL for testing Web APIs has returned. So if everyone's might be familiar, if you built Web APIs, that dropped inside 16.2. Now, as I build a Web API, when I want to test the Web API, I have a quick reference URL that's always available to me inside the design experience. By selecting that URL, I can quickly open up that inside my own web browser to test the interaction and see the JSON result coming back inside a RESTful API, or copy that URL and share it with someone as an example of how to use my Web API I designed inside the Appian product. We've also improved the Save As Default Test Values link inside the Interface Designer. Now, this tends to disappear a lot, so the Save As Default Test Values only appeared if Appian detected a change to the test values. If the user was not changing the test values, then that link disappeared. That created a little bit of confusion. From feedback, we decided to always keep the Save As Default Test Values button available, even if they did not change the test values, just to reduce confusion and use of that feature. And finally, let's talk a little bit about the administrative functions introduced inside the Appian product. One of the bigger capabilities introduced in 16.3 is really building off of the import-export capabilities of the admin console introduced in 16.2. So in 16.2, we introduced the idea of importing and exporting things like user start pages and plugin settings from one environment to another for your dev test production to keep them all in sync. Now, Appian 16.3 has really rounded all that out to be a complete kind of representation of all the major configurations of the admin console, such as authentication, mobile configurations, data retention, deployment, email settings, user profiles, branding controls, and quick app settings as well. These are easily accessed from the admin console. If I go to my export button, I'll see an export control as I see in the right-hand side screenshot here. I simply select the items I want to export. It'll create a package for me, for which then I can import to my target system. Now, we've also built upon the idea of the customization file, because many times, even though I want to replicate many of the design configurations between my dev, test, and production environments, I also don't want to replicate them identically, because I often have different data sources, I have different authentication schemes, and maybe even different branding to visually denote my dev, test, and prod environment. So if I want to maintain a separate configuration for those, but also eliminate manual configuration, we've extended the concept of the customization file to also include Quick Apps data source configurations, system branding, and Appian authentication. The customization file already included configurations for primary data source configuration, other types of unique settings that I have for different target environments. On the architecture side, we've also taken some time to improve the process execution throughput. Specifically, what we did here is a common activity employed by all of our customers is the idea of archiving processes or deleting processes when they've been completed. Many times I utilize the Appian process modeler for just doing kind of routine cleanup processes, or maybe just straight through system handling processes that I don't want to take up space in my process execution engine or in my reporting environment. Prior to Appian 16.3, the process archiving activity was actually managed by the engines themselves. All the CPU and memory handling of process archiving has now been moved to the application server. What this means is greater CPU resources are now available for core process execution, which ultimately leads to improved performance. Most specifically, if you're an Appian customer with heavy load on your process execution environment, with also frequent archiving, you should see a dramatic benefit in the performance and throughput of the process execution engines. We've also introduced a new metrics log for expression rule testing. So if you navigate to your log system under the logs, data metrics, expression rule test cases.csv is a new log for basically storing all the runs of test cases of all your expressions and automated test scenarios. Now, of course, might be useful if I want to extract this information, analyze it in third-party tools. It's more easily available inside the log file for direct extraction and to see all the pass or fails of all my business rules I've run inside the system. Finally, for Appian Cloud, we also have upgraded the Appian Cloud servers of MySQL to 5.7. If you remember in 16.2, we officially supported MySQL 5.7 in that 16.2 release. And now all of our cloud customers will be automatically upgraded to the latest version of MySQL as their primary Appian data store, as well as their business data store hosted on the Appian Cloud environment. And also with Appian Cloud, we are officially dropping support for TLS 1.0 as the secure encrypted communication protocol between the clients and the servers over web browsers or mobile communication. That Appian Cloud dropping of support will occur in May of 2017, and the only encryption protocol supported will be TLS 1.1 or 1.2 after May of 2017. If you have any comments or questions about the TLS or the MySQL upgrade, I encourage you to contact support or Appian Cloud support team. They can clarify any types of support issues or maybe how this would impact your specific deployment. We've also upgraded support for the Microsoft Edge browser across all environments, except for a few very legacy design time environments. So that simply means that you can use the Microsoft Edge browser for the portal application, the application portal, still supported in Appian 16.3, as well as the full tempo, sites, embedded sail environments, as well as all the primary design experiences today, including the Appian Process Modeler, also supports the Microsoft Edge browser. And finally, a lot of the questions I've received from customers over the past several months were, why was 16.3 delayed? Why did we have to wait until September for the 16.3 release? And this is why. We have a very big offering coming out for our Appian Cloud customers called High Availability. High Availability is a highly available Appian Cloud architecture environment, which is redundant across multiple data centers. This was a very complex configuration, which we decided to do a much larger battery of testing before rolling out to all our customers. Now, specifically, what is high availability? High availability is the idea of hot replication of all the cloud customer environments across 3 completely independent data centers. Represented here by each one of these boxes called an availability zone. Each availability zone is an entirely isolated building, complete with isolated power, isolated internet connectivity from other buildings inside of them. So each of these might be a 100,000 to 200,000 square foot data center. And now we are doing hot replication for our high availability cloud customers across 3 availability zones. That simply means not just if a disk fails or if you have a small minor failure on a specific Appian instance, but if I have a total catastrophic failure, the entire data center burns down, loses power, or loses internet connectivity, we will hot fail over all the user traffic to the alternative data centers, and all your data, including data not only inside the Appian system, your process execution engines, rule execution engines, process model designs, all your latest designs, but as well, all the MySQL database, all your VPN connectivity to your backend systems, all your integration hookups, all that is hot replicated for instant failover to the alternative availability zones. This is a great offering if you care about very secure, highly available environments. And of course, to go along with this, we have a brand new contract to sign with customers. Now, what that means also is that since this does require that the availability zones are going to be replicated inside a specific region across multiple data centers, this is limited to just Virginia, Ireland, and Australia as an initial rollout for these high availability offering. Now, to be clear, when I talk about multiple high availability zones, zone 1, 2, and 3, that is inside a single region. Note that little single region right here. A single region means that that's all inside, say, like Virginia. So even though we're doing hot replication of all your data across multiple data centers, that information, that hot replication never leaves your country of where your primary operation is. So we are not going to replicate the data from Virginia to Ireland to Australia. In Ireland, we have 3 redundant data centers. In Virginia, we have 3 redundant data centers. And in Australia, we have 3 redundant data centers, all doing hot replication inside that specific region. This is very important because we want to make sure we're always compliant to your regional and governmental laws of making sure your PII and customer data is always stored inside that country of origin. Now, also, if you're on the federal customer side, we're looking forward to rolling out our GovCloud HA offering inside 2017. That'll most likely be the next high availability offering for our cloud customers. If you'd like to sign up for high availability, we do encourage you to talk to your account executive. It does require execution of a new contract. Inside that contract, we're going to have a hard 15-minute, what we call RPO and RTO. RPO and RTO are industry terms for specific times it takes to recover to full service. Recovery point objective is the maximum targeted period in which data might be lost for an IT service due to a major incident, such as the loss of an entire data center. Recovery time objective is a target duration of time and a service level within a business process must be restored after disaster. So 15 minutes means this is what we're willing to sign contractually. So 15 minutes it takes as the recovery time to move to another data center. Our actual testing is a little bit lower than that, but depending on large environments, it might be up to 15 minutes is the maximum. Again, to finally summarize, if you'd like more information on our high availability offering, do please contact your Appian account executive. They can review the contract terms and other types of considerations when thinking about moving to the Appian Cloud HA offering. So finally, last 10 minutes here, we're going to cover very quickly the Modern UI initiative. If you had a chance to join us on the September 8th Tips and Tricks webinar, we went through a very detailed dive of the Modern UI initiative. That is available on Appian Forum as a recording. Or if you're joining us for Appian Around the World, I'm personally going through a very detailed exploration of the changes in Modern UI as well. But what is Modern UI? Modern UI is a refresh and upgrade of all the styling and navigational options and design controls of the entire Appian Sail architecture. So here I see an example dashboard, which is what we're going to be able to roll out in 2017. But the high-level goals of Modern UI are this: providing our customers more power, more flexibility, better effective use of space, have it be web responsive, meaning that if I'm using my web browser on a BlackBerry device, Windows mobile device, iPhone or Android device, I'll get a very intuitive layout that works for that device inside the web browser screen. Still having simple intent-driven design, but allowing for great visual richness. So when we upgrade to Modern UI, why we're announcing this early is that when we upgrade to 17.1, which is when Modern UI is going to roll out, there's going to be some design changes across all of your environments. Functionally, everything will remain the same. It'll be the exact same functional behavior. It's just a matter of the layout and look and feel of the user experience will change. One first element that will change is the record list view. As you may see, a traditional record list view in Appian typically has a left-hand navigation for all the facet filters and search, and then the content on the right-hand side. When we upgrade to 17.1, this will change to a full screen layout for the record content and a top-hand navigation for all the facet filters. This will apply not only to the record list view, but also to the record grid view as we see here, and the list view shown here now. Now, we're also updating all the Sail components. So this is a re-evaluation of a lot of the individual components, such as button controls. A lot of you may be familiar with the current button controls being those gray, green, or red controls. We're introducing the concept of an accent color, which will not only allow you to control the color of the buttons, but as well control the color of the section headers, control the color of the field focus highlighting, controlling the color of the milestone and progress bar color components, as well as more subtle behaviors like the checkbox colors inside checkboxes or radio button controls. We're also re-evaluating a lot of the styling options, such as that strong red for negative actions is going to be more of a hover over red, but when I'm not hovering over it, I'll simply see red text with a red border. And also more advanced controls like the multi-select control, where I typically need to hold down the control key and then select individual elements. We have a brand new control for more intuitive multi-select behavior with a single hand or single keyboard operation. Now, what does this mean? What's my interface is going to look like when I upgrade to 17.1 in the first quarter of 2017? Well, this is a great example of a create new customer form from the case management framework today inside Appian Sail as of 16.3. Now, when I upgrade to 17.1, this is what's going to happen. First, most importantly, exact same behavior. So there's no functional difference between the two. Second, you'll notice that I have the application of the accent color here, so I can change the section header colors to change those individual colors on the section headers. You'll notice also that a text field is still a text field, a paragraph field is still a paragraph field. It's all the exact same layout, just a custom, different styling applied to the entire interface. A little bit different modified font control, as well as different spacing, a little bit more intuitive layout. So most importantly though, what do you have to do to prepare for this? Really nothing on the design time experience. You have a seamless migration coming in the first quarter of 2017 to the new modern UI look and feel. But more importantly, you have to prepare your end users for that migration. So throughout this Q4, we're going to be releasing not only webinars like this, but also more content to help you prepare your end users for any type of subtle changes of behavior through PDF and documentation and videos, which will help kind of train and prepare your own user base for those subtle changes coming in the new Modern UI initiative. So when is Modern UI coming out? Right now, we're in the Q4 period, previewing Modern UI to all of our customers through the tips and tricks webinars, through Appian Around the World, and through this Product Announcer webinar, and more content to come. But early in Q1, we're going to be implementing the Modern UI sales styling. This simply means that functionally, all your behavior will be the same. There's no functional difference in what you can do, or what has been done to the behavior environments. Just the rendering is going to look a little different. But going forward in Q2, Q3 2017, we're going to be releasing a bevy of new sale components, starting with layouts. Some of you might have noticed something right away, that I have a 4-column layout inside this interface. That's one of the new layout controls going to be coming inside the April of 2017, allowing you to have greater data density in how I organize all the content. There's a large set of layouts based on feedback from all of our customers that we're hoping to introduce inside April, and then new sale components based on popularity from customers throughout the 2017 timeframe. So if you'd like to learn more, again, simply ping us on forum, write notes to product management. We're trying to be as public as possible with the Modern UI initiative. Happy to answer questions about how your specific interfaces will be impacted and what we plan to release inside 2017. Thanks everyone for attending the Product Announcer webinar for today. Encourage you also, if you are waiting for the Modern UI initiative, you can go into the Appian forum experience and look at the tips and tricks webinar on Modern UI, where we cover a little bit more detail and demonstration of the Modern UI initiative. Or again, take advantage to join us in Washington, DC next Tuesday, Chicago next Thursday, New Jersey coming on November 2nd, or for a few of you, maybe Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on November 14th. Thanks everyone, and look forward to talking to you at the next Product Announcer webinar.